Yes, good afternoon. Earlier I had told you the syllabus for this MCQ exam, and for the date and schedule for this exam I would like to suggest you to follow our school official website. In that website the date of exam as well as the schedule of exam will be posted. So follow our school official website to know the date and schedule of your exam. Beforehand, I had already told the syllabus for English for this 20 marks of MCQ. Now today we will complete the chapter, the enemy. That last day we completed, hence in page number 46, that we saw that Dr. Sadao had helped the white American to escape from his house, and the army general was operated by Dr. Sadao, and Dr. Sadao had told the army general that the white man had escaped from his house. The army general was very much surprised, and he told that he had promised, and he accepted also, he accepted the fact to Dr. Sadao that he had forgotten to keep his promise. We know that the army general had promised that he would send two of his private murderers to kill the man, but unfortunately, the army general had forgotten about his promise. So he had not sent anybody to kill, and we know we discussed about all this, and Dr. Sadao actually had actually helped the white American to escape from his house. Now here let's start. Last day we completed up to these. Now here I wondered, Your Excellency said, murmured, Sadao murmured. When Sadao told that, yes, Excellency, you told me that you would actually send two of his assassins and all this. It was certainly very careless of me, the general said. The general told, it was certainly very careless of me. Question may come, what does it mean? What does it mean? It means the promise, that the army general promised to the doctor that he would send two of his private murderers, two private assassins, but he had forgotten. So the army general accepted that it was certainly very careless of me, okay, very careless of me. But you understand, it was not lack of patriotism or dereliction. Dereliction means irresponsibility of duty. Now actually army general told Dr. Sadao that you see, Sadao, it's not that lack of patriotism or irresponsibility. He looked anxious at his doctor. If the matter should come out, you would understand that, wouldn't you? Now, actually army general was afraid, because if Dr. Sadao had told it, if the matter comes out in such a way that Dr. Sadao had intimated everything about the white American to the army general, but the army general had forgotten to send assassins to kill the murderer, or after knowing everything, if the army general did not take any step, then it would go against the army general. Okay, so the army general was now afraid, and he told Dr. Sadao that if the matter should come out, you would understand that, wouldn't you? If the matter should come out means if the matter would come out in such a way that after knowing everything, when the army general actually had not taken any steps, then it would go against him. Then there would be a great question over his responsibility, over his patriotism as well. So now the army general was in fear. Certainly, Your Excellency, Sadao said. Sadao told, yes, I could understand, Excellency. He suddenly comprehended that the general was in the palm of his hand, and that as a consequence he himself was perfectly safe. And doctor realized that, comprehended means he understood, he realized it, that the general was in the palm of his hand. This is palm of his hands. That general had come in his hand, and as a consequence and as a result he was perfectly safe, because now he is not going to be liable or responsible for what had happened, because Dr. Sadao, if the matter had come out in any day, then Dr. Sadao would tell others that he had intimated all this to the Army General, and it is the fault of the Army General that he did not take any step. So Sadao felt that he was perfectly safe. I can swear to your loyalty, Excellency, he said to the old general, and to your zeal against the enemy. And he told, I could swear to your loyalty. Means Dr. Sadao wanted to tell to the Army General that I am too much loyal to you. I am not going to tell this to anybody else. Okay, he said, and to your zeal against the enemy. And you were so much enemy here to that against this American. You are so much interested. You are so much encourageous against all the enemies. So I know it. So I feel that yes, it is true that you have not done it intentionally. You are a good man, the general murmured and closed his eyes. You will be rewarded. Now general understood that Dr. Sadao is not going to flash this news outside. Dr. Sadao is not going to tell anybody about the fault of Army General. And at this, the Army General was very happy, and he told the doctor that he will be rewarded. But Sadao, searching the spot of black in the twilighted sea that night, had his reward. But Sadao that night, remember, Sadao had Sadao had told the white American to give 2 flashes of light if he stays there, and if his food's exhausted, then give 2 flashes. If still he stays there but he is quite safe, his food is also enough, then give 1 flashes. So Sadao was searching if there is any flashes there from that island, but had his reward. There was no prick of light in the dusk. He could not see. In the dusk, I told it's twilight, because Dr. Sadao had told the American that you must give this signal, these flashes, okay, in the dusk time, in the twilight, when the day is afternoon is meeting the evening. But he was searching for this, but no such flashes of light over there. Okay, no one was on the island, so he was sure no one was on the island. His prisoner was gone, safe, doubtless, for he had warned him to wait only for a Korean fishing boat. And the doctor realized that the prisoner had escaped safely, because he had told him to go with the Korean fishing boat. So he must have got any Korean fishing boat, and he has escaped safely from there. Now question may come, how could Dr. Sadao become so sure that he had escaped? Because had the man was there in that island, then he must have given the signal by his flashlight. But Dr. Sadao had not got any such signal from there. So it means that he must have gone from there. He stood for a moment on the veranda, gazing out to the sea from whence the young man had come that other night. Now he was standing on the veranda and he was looking to that place, looking towards that shore, when that night, when that wounded man had come to his house. And into his mind, although without reason, there came other white faces he had known. And while he was actually thinking about the white man, the other white faces that he knew means he knew the white faces in America. We know that Sadao actually stayed 8 years in America. So all these he could remember, that all the other white faces that he met in America. The professor at whose house he had met Hannah, he just remembered, he could remember, as if he could see the face in his inward eye, that the face of that professor, where in the house of that, in whose house actually Dr. Sadao met with Hannah. A dull man and his wife had been a silly talkative woman. That doctor man was a dull man, okay, where Dr. Sadao actually stayed there, okay, and he met Hannah, we all discussed about. And his wife had been a silly talkative woman. He could also remember that the wife of that professor, he was a silly woman, but very talkative, very voluble. She always wanted to talk much, in spite of her wish to be kind. And actually the wife of that professor wanted to be kind to the other students who used to stay to their house. but the woman actually was very much talkative. He remembered his old teacher of anatomy, who had been so insistent on mercy with the knife, and then he remembered the face of his fat and slatternly landlady. Okay, here he also remembered, here it is, he remembered the old teacher of anatomy. We remember that when Sada was operating when Sada was operating the white man, he could remember the lecture of that anatomy professor, what the anatomy professor would say in his class. He could remember that day also. So today, that night, Sada could remember the face of that professor of anatomy, who had been so insistent on mercy with the knife. Who had been so insistent means he was so skillful that operation under his knife means operation after operation he was successful there. And then he remembered the face of his fat and slatternly landlady, and he could remember the landlady where Sada used to stay in that house. Okay, here slatternly means untidy. He could remember the untidy face, untidy landlady. He had great difficulty in finding a place to live in America because he was a Japanese, and Sada could remember that when he went to America for the first time to be a doctor, then at first as he was a Japanese, so it was very difficult for him to find a place in Japan. With such a difficulty he found. The Americans were full of prejudice, and it had been bitter to live in it, knowing himself their superior. And Sada felt that American was very much prejudiced, because they are having a very superior, as if they are having some superiority complex in them. They think that they are the better person than others. They have always their pride, and they don't give any attention to the other people. So Sada actually faced such difficulty being a Japanese after going there. And Sada found that it was very difficult because Sada himself knew that he was superior to this person, but still it had been bitter to live in it. It's very bitter experience to live there, knowing himself that they are superior. Sada knew that he was superior to this American, but still it's a bitter experience that he had been humiliated. He had not been given that importance in America. He found it very difficult to find a room to stay as he was Japanese. He could all remember all this. How he had despised the ignorant and dirty old woman who had at last consented to house him in her miserable home. How he had despised, here despised means hatred. How he had hatred and the ignorant and dirty old woman. Actually, he could remember all these about his landlady. That woman was dirty, that slatternly, untidy, dirty. Here the dirty woman who had at last consented means allowed him, who at last allowed him to stay in his miserable home. Means actually the house of that landlady where Dr. Sada used to stay in America. Okay, it was very miserable. The condition was very pathetic, but somehow he had to manage to stay there. He had once tried to be grateful to her because she had in his last year nursed him through influenza. But yes, Sada actually was thinking that that landlady was very untidy, that landlady was very talkative, but still Sada was grateful because to her, because she had in his last year nursed him through influenza. But last year means Sada stayed there for 8 years. So last year Sada actually suffered from influenza, and that landlady who was untidy, who was dirty, who was actually very talkative, she actually nursed him through and cured him out of this influenza. So Sada was somehow grateful for that landlady, as if when he was standing there in the veranda in that evening, all these pictures came in his mind. But it was difficult, for she was no less repulsive to him in her kindness. But it was difficult also to tolerate all these, because she was no less repulsive. Repulsive means very tedious. In her behavior, the woman was very much tedious, as if her behavior made others very much tired of her. Now he remembered the youthful, haggard face of this prisoner, and at last the face of that prisoner came. Here haggard means pale. At last means he could remember the face that he met in America, his professor of anatomy, the professor in whose house he used to stay, the landlady, all these he could remember. And at last the face, the pale and youthful pale face had come in front of his mind, in front of his eyes, as if he could see the face of the prisoner, white and repulsive. It is also white and tedious. So this might be the characteristics of the American people that came to Sadao's mind, that this is white and repulsive. Strange, he thought. At last he thought, strange. I wonder why I could not kill him. As if this question came to Dr. Sadao's mind. I wonder, I am surprised that why I could not kill him, because Sadao got golden opportunity to kill him. During the operation he might kill him, but now this question came in his mind, and this question came in his mind, okay, and he was actually thinking that I don't know, I could not understand that why I could not kill him. So this is the end of this chapter. Have you understood, I feel? This is the end of the chapter. It's a so long a story, but today we had completed. Now few questions over there. I would like to discuss this question with you, and if you have any extra question, I will give some extra question also, as I always did in class 11, that after completion of chapter I feel few questions I should give you. I should also give you few questions. Beforehand, few questions over there, that there are moments in life when we have to make hard choices between our roles as private individuals and as citizens with a sense of national loyalty. Discuss with reference to the story you have just read. This is the, actually this is the underlying theme of this story, isn't it? That there are moments in life when we have to make hard choices between our roles as private individuals and as citizens with a sense of national loyalty. Yes, it all tells about Dr. Sadao. That being a doctor, he had to save the life of an American who is the enemy of their country. So what role Dr. Sadao should assume? Okay, this is the base of this story. Dr. Sadao was compelled by his duty as a doctor to help the enemy soldier. What made Hannah, his wife, sympathetic to him in the face of open defiance from the domestic staff? We know that Sadao was compelled, Sadao was forced to perform his duty as a doctor first. But the question is, how could Hannah actually help him, his wife, sympathetic to him in the face of open defiance from the domestic staff? And because of these, all the domestic staff, all the servants, they left their job. They actually protested against this, but still Hannah was in the side of doctor. How do you feel Hannah was there? Means this is Hannah's character. In roundabout way, this is Hannah's character. This might be important. Yes, it is true that Hannah was very much faithful to her husband. Hannah was very supportive to her husband, and they had a great bonding between husband and wife. Hannah always loved her husband. Okay, she was very much supportive to her husband all the time, that she did not go with the servant. What the servant actually told, she actually protested against it, not protested, but she did not go against them. So this is Hannah's character. Number 3, how would you explain the reluctance of the soldier to leave the shelter of the doctor's home, even when he knew he couldn't stay there without risk to the doctor and himself? Why? How would you explain the reluctance of the soldier to leave the shelter of the doctor's home, even when he knew he couldn't stay there without risk to the doctor and himself? Actually, here it is that the doctor, white American, he was not very much reluctant. He was not very much desirous. Reluctant means he was not desirous to leave Dr. Sadao's house. So how it could know that, how could you assess that the man was not so much desirous, the man was not intended to leave the house of Dr. Sadao? Because I know we feel that the man was very much afraid. Once he escaped from the prison and he got the shelter, and a shelter to the doctor's house, and the time or the days he stayed in Dr. Sadao's house, he could understand that Dr. Sadao was really a gentleman. So probably the white American thought that this probably the best shelter for him in Japan, because if he actually wanted to escape from there, or if he tried to escape from there, he might be caught again, and this time nobody could survive him. and nobody could save him, and that probably the reason that out of that general instinct, okay, general instinct, because everybody wants safe shelter. So out of this general instinct, though he knew that if he stays in a doctor's house it would be a danger for him as well as the doctor, but still due to that general instinct he wanted to stay over there and he did not want to leave Dr. Sadao's house. Number 4, what explains the attitude of the general in the matter of the enemy soldier? Was it human consideration, lack of national loyalty, dereliction of duty, or simply self-absorption? What explained the attitude of the general in the matter of the enemy soldier? Yes. What do you think? The general had made a plan of sending 2 of his private assassins, private murderers to kill the white American, but he had forgotten. So how would you assess it? Is it human consideration, lack of national loyalty, dereliction of duty, or simply self-absorption? I feel it should be simply self-absorption, because he accepted that he had forgotten, and he also accepted that general was thinking about his own. He became old, and he had been ill for long days, so he was only thinking about his own self, and that is why he had forgotten. We must not consider this that this is the dereliction, means irresponsibility in duty, because we know here we got the instances that the army general got lots of success in his post. Number 5, while hatred against a number of the enemy race is justifiable, especially during wartime, what makes a human being rise above narrow prejudices? Yes, that while hatred against a number of enemy race is justifiable, actually this is about Sadao's character. We will have to tell this, that how it was possible to go above the narrow prejudices while a war was going on. So being a true being a loyal citizen, how anybody could go above these narrow prejudices? Do you think the doctor's final solution to the problem was the best possible one in the circumstances? Yes. Do you think the doctor's final solution, final solution means the doctor's thinking of helping the man to escape from his house. This is the final solution. Do you think this is the best possible? You will have to answer. I feel yes, it is the best possible way, because Dr. Sadao knew that no assassin would come, because he actually thought that the old man might have forgotten, and really the old man had forgotten. So he actually helped the man to escape. Now number 7, does the story remind you of Birth by A.G. Cronin that you read in Snapshots last year? What are the similarities? Yes, this is a very nice question. What are the similarities? There also you could see that there a doctor had saved the life of the mother, okay, who was waiting for the first baby, to have the first baby for 20 years. And here also, here Dr. Sadao saved the life of this captive person. Is there any film you have seen or a novel you have read about the similar theme? That is up to you. I don't know whether you have seen any novel on this. These are the questions. This is open-ended question, few open-ended question there, and now I am telling you few extra question. This might be important as well in our exam, and not this exam and not this exam that is going to be held in few days, but this will be very much important as well. So I am telling few questions from there, the enemy, okay. Short answer type question. This type of question may come, that in what condition did Dr. Sadao find the American soldier at the seashore? In what condition did Dr. Sadao find the American soldier at the seashore? This might be an important question. Next, okay, this is also that on the 7th day after the American soldier was found by Sadao, two things happened. Why did Hannah feel scared of the second? This is important. Remember the two things. The first thing that the servant left, and the second thing, when Hannah was doing his job, she saw that a messenger had come in uniform. Why Hannah was so much scared of that messenger? Now next question, why did the messenger come to Dr. Sadao? Why did he think about it? Why did the messenger come to Dr. Sadao? Question mark. What did he think about it? Next, what was the plan of the army general to get rid of the white American? What was the plan of the army general to get rid of the white American? Get rid of means to avoid. Next, what conflicting ideas arise in Dr. Sadao's mind after he has brought the wounded American soldier home? What conflicting ideas arise in Dr. Sadao's mind after he has brought the wounded American soldier home? Next, why did Dr. Sadao help the American to escape? Why did Dr. Sadao help the American to escape? Question mark. How did he help him? How did he help him? First question, why did Dr. Sadao help the American soldier to escape, and how did he help it? And next, this is important question, that what impression do you form about Dr. Sadao as a man and as a surgeon on your reading the chapter The Enemy? What impression do you form about Dr. Sadao as a man and as a surgeon on your reading the chapter The Enemy? So these are the question. Apart from these, there are lots of questions. You may practice all this. So these are the question. I feel this might be important for you. Not this exam, because the upcoming exam will be MCQ. So today up to this we had completed the enemy. Next day we will start the new chapter, that is Should Wizard Eat Mummy. Till then, it's goodbye.